This is a great one. Matthew Lloyd wants to know, or says anyway, Bill, this last election seems to have solidified the death of the mainstream media. Amen. Since the election of Trump, alternative conservative media is celebrating a well-deserved victory. Could that victory be short-lived? Now we're hearing calls to suppress fake news, which of course means conservative news. Alternative conservative media is almost totally reliant on platforms controlled and increasingly censored by the progressive left. He said regressive left, which is correct, like YouTube, Facebook, and so on. What's the solution to overcoming this fatal flaw present in the alternative conservative media? Great question. Step 3 of my plan, which is about to be released, the third step of the plan video, is that we have to outflank the mainstream media. And outflanking them doesn't mean defeating them. It means just ignoring them and going around them, literally walking around them. And the good news is that's not going to take much effort because they're dying on their own. And whether Clinton had won or Trump had won, their credibility, what was left of it, the thin, tattered shreds of it, is now utterly gone. When you find out that a network has been handing one of the candidates the questions from the upcoming debate in advance, I think at this point you're pretty much branded. So their credibility is evaporating, but that's not what's causing their destruction. They're being destroyed by the internet. And the stronger the structure was originally, the longer it will take for the internet to erode it away. But it's happening all over the place. I mean, Newsweek went out of business, and the New York Times circulation is just plummeting, and CNN and all the rest. And people, young people, I'm one of them. I'm not that young, but I don't watch CNN. I get all of my information from the web, all of it. I get a lot of it from Facebook. I get it from Instapundit. I get it from Drudge Report. All of this, and I look at some hostile things too. So what is happening there is, I just think it's profoundly interesting. They're on their way down, Matthew. They're really on their way down. Now, one of the things that I think is so important, and I say in the plan video here, is that, what's different about the world now, or at least recently in the last decade or so, is that right now there's 80 million Americans walking around with high-definition television cameras in their pockets. High-definition television cameras in 80 million hands. And when CNN, just as an example of the mainstream media, if there's a riot, let's say, CNN gets a call saying, hey, guess what? There's a riot downtown. And CNN goes, my God, we have to cover this. So then the call goes out and a crew is assembled. And I'm sure they have a fairly ready crew, but that means they have to get up and they have to get into the van and they have to close the doors, load the equipment if it's not already loaded, and then the van has to travel all the way over to where the riot is. At that point, they have to set up a perimeter. They can't drive right to the center of the riot. They have to kind of stand outside the edges of the riot. And while they're standing outside the edges of the riot, they have to set up that gigantic, huge microwave periscope thing they've got, and then they have to light this guy, turn on the lights, got to get his mic going, his sound going, making sure that everything's good. We got the link. Yes. Are we communicating with the studio? Yes. And by the time they start to report on the riot's over. But the thing that's new now is that the riot is over, and by the time CNN turns on the first frame of the riot is not only essentially over, but millions of people have seen it before CNN even goes live, because it takes a while for them to get their stuff out there. And meanwhile, one of their 2 or 20 or 50 or 100 of these 80 million people have uploaded high-definition camera to the web, and millions and millions and millions of people have seen this while CNN is driving on the way to set up to cover the story. So they're done. And good riddance. And there's good news, and it's both good news. The good news is that the signal will get out, and that the media doesn't control the signal anymore. And that's also the good news, because it doesn't mean a conservative media. It means the truth will get out. That's important to us as conservatives for two reasons. One of them is we are hang on a second, I got a little distracted by something I saw over there. I've just completely lost my train of thought. I hate it when that happens. But in any event, the mainstream media is on its way out. Oh, I remember now. We don't want a conservative media. If we had a biased conservative media, we'd make the same idiotic mistakes that these Democrats did. We'd just be hearing what we want to hear, and everybody wants to hear what they want to hear. And it turns out, no. the truth is going to get out, and that helps us enormously. And one of the really most huge things out there, thank you, Silent Gloves, is the fact that Donald Trump is tweeting. It's going to be the first Twitter presidency. Obviously, Obama had a Twitter account, and obviously it's run by some senior level staffer and so on. And it's like, hey, nice clock, Ahmed. Would you like to bring it to the White House? It's a public relations thing. Obama's tweeting was a public relations aspect. It's like any company. It's like, Kellogg's, cornflakes. Do you have a presence on Twitter now, Kellogg's? Oh, yes, absolutely. We have 7,000 people following us because there's 7,000 Americans who can't wait to hear what the latest new box design is for Rice Krispies. So that's the kind of thing that Obama did, was just kind of mandatory, essentially required in this day and age Twitter accounts. Trump is talking to the American people in 140 characters or 144, whatever it is. He's speaking directly to the American people. Now, it doesn't sound very presidential. Trump's not very good with that anyway. It sounds a bit petulant or a bit impulsive. But he is talking directly to the American people through Twitter. It's like he's a hostage, which he is. He's a hostage of the information bandits. And the Washington correspondents are waking up to the fact that they know that they were responsible for getting him elected because they covered him all the time and because they mocked him so much and made so many people so damn angry that they decided to get up and vote for the first time in 50 years just to show him. But they're terrified because Donald Trump doesn't need White House correspondents. He doesn't need them. He doesn't have to have them. He has to get a message out to the American people. He's got a lot of ways to do it in social media, among other things. He's got a much bigger following than President Obama does, a much, much, much bigger following than Hillary Clinton. As a matter of fact, if you look at the number of people following Trump on Twitter, it would be an enormous step down in influence for him to just do CNN, ABC, and CBS. Total number of viewers on Twitter is far higher than those shows. So it's great news. Now, as far as the control by Facebook and YouTube and all the rest of it, that is in fact an actual problem, and it's a more subtle problem than it looks. We think that the problem is that Facebook's going to ban somebody or Twitter's going to ban somebody like Milo, and that's obviously a concern. But that's not where the real danger is. The danger is that these algorithms are determined by human beings. They can set the factor any way they want to. And so it's entirely possible for Facebook, for example, to be suppressing my message and the message of other people who have much more reach than me. And there'd be no way to know it. What it would really come down to is my videos might be seen by 70,000 people when if it was neutral, it might be seen by 400,000 people. And if it was pro-conservative, it might be seen by several millions of people. And you've got no way to tell. You've got no way to tell what's actually happening, behind the curtain there. So that is a problem. I know there's a conservative Twitter out there. I don't know whether these things are going to take off. I suspect they're probably not. They'll take off if it turns out that enough people leave Twitter because it's just biased. It's so biased. By the way, when they do things like ban Milo, their stock price goes way down. Because even though all of the people who run Twitter are incredibly progressive, the people who put the money into Twitter are not. And they have an opinion about alienating half of the country. Same is true for Facebook. So yes, it's a problem. And it's going to be a creeping behind-the-scenes problem, Matthew. It's going to be the kind of thing that you have to be on guard for. And it's going to be very difficult to detect, I suspect. But overall, the fact that anybody with a camera can upload news directly to the internet, and I use the footage of Hillary Clinton on my plan video stumbling into the van. She stumbled as she stepped off the curb. No, she collapsed into the van. And, who are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes? One of the expressions that millennials use a lot is going to be my mantra here at this organization. And that is pics or it didn't happen. If you don't have video, then as far as this society today is concerned, it didn't happen. Hillary Clinton damn near won this election because all of her emails were in print. And when you see a print of emails and it says Clinton : something outrageous, your brain does not react to that in the same way as your brain would react if it turned out you saw Hillary Clinton or at least heard her voice saying this. I don't like it. It's just we just have to go. We just have to understand that that's the case. And so we have tremendous opportunities to beat them, Matthew. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's opportunities anymore. I think I've been saying for a long time, I'd like to say that the economics of the information age are on our side. It means the signal gets out. Everything about third age information society is it's smaller, faster, more local, far less expensive, much quicker, much more agile, much more sensitive to change, and all the rest. And that favors us, not them. They have a very top-down, second-wave industrial structure to the economy and to their political parties. Both parties do. But as we say, if I can order steel in China, right now, order steel from China right now, how is Washington going to control this? There's no way. No way. So that's helping us quite a lot. It's helping us actually quite a lot. And there was one other point I wanted to make here. Is this victory short-lived? Folks, this is the most important thing I can say. It's essentially what I'm going to be making my position going forward from this point on. We have been given a reprieve, but not a pardon. We have 2 years to reintroduce Americans to America. We have 2 years to make an entirely new crop of voters who've never voted for Hillary, never voted for anybody before. We've got 2 years to get the American people understanding some of these basics. This is not going to be a war of bullets and bayonets. It's a war of images and ideas. And that is, whether we understand it as a political group or not, that's the reality of it. And this one was very close, believe it or not, exceedingly close. And it shouldn't be. I don't think we're going to get a chance again because the demographics, despite this last win, are against us. Every day, more people, more young people can call themselves socialist. They don't know what socialism is, and they don't behave like socialists. No, there's no evidence that they're socialist, but they call themselves socialist. And because they're good socialists, and because they want to go along with everybody else, that's what happens, especially when you're a young teenager or young adult, is that they've been told that the only cool position, the only kind position, the only decent position is to become a socialist and a far left progressive. And so we make more of them every single day. We make more of them every day, and that is not changed by the election. We have got to start getting these messages out to young people and that's what I want to do. I just want to outflank this entire millennial cohort. I just want to say they're gone. It's not their fault. They were raised by people who wanted to be their friends rather than their parents, and they don't have any sense of, as I'm generalizing as always. But you get that. You've all heard the millennial rant before. I want to go to people who are 15, 16, 17 years old now, 18 years old, people who are going to vote for the first time ever in 2018 and 2020. And I want to convince people that this is the way to go. And this is going to take some resources. But they may be there. And this is really going to be the issue, frankly, is when you try to convince people that this battle is being fought in the media, in the pop culture. Number one, can you get conservatives to believe that's true? And number two, can you get them to commit resources, yes or no? Because Soros has put hundreds of millions, probably billions of dollars into this when you look at everything. And Zuckerberg and Spielberg and, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, all of this billions, hundreds of millions of dollars going into the progressive cause and the progressive movement. And that doesn't mention the $2 trillion a year that gets shoveled into progressivism in terms of here's something for you from this guy, give me this, I'm going to give it to you. So we really have to put up or shut up. And there have been moments when I've been perplexed, let's just say, at people who say, well, the country's going to hell and I don't know what to do about it. I say, well, here's something you can do about it. Well, it doesn't seem like a wise investment. You could say that all the money you give to me or anybody else for that matter is maybe going down the black hole of loss in terms of return on your money. But the money you would be giving to me or other people to use to win this fight is a percentage of your total money. And it's well below 50%, and it's way, way, way below 94% of your total income, which is what you're going to be paying in taxes if you do not turn young people around. Every day there are more of them. Each one of them has a vote. The idea that young people could be so passionate about Bernie frickin' Sanders is an indication of how seriously brainwashed these kids are and they can come out of it. You know, they've never had to think before. The smoke comes out of their ears, but it can be done, and it's actually easy to do. It's just there's a whole lot of people you have to do it to. We have to flip these people back to reason and logic and evidence and passion and fun and romance and sexiness. All of this, we got to get these things. We got to get harnessed with these things instead of fighting them all. I know how to do that, and some other people do too. Right, Linda, thank you. Bye-bye. So anyway, 2 to go. I think I'm going to have to make it relatively short tonight.